Okay.
All right, so good evening, everybody. Apologies, I'm going to face this way just to keep my audio clear for everybody who's watching at home. But my name is Bob Flynn with Jersey Central Power and Light. Worked for the company for 6 years now, primarily Morris, Passaic, Essex, now with the addition of Somerset and Union County. I cover majority of the North, in addition to one other rep named Amy Overman, who covers Hunterdon and Warren County. But tonight I came here and I'm kind of doing this as a tour, quote unquote, for all of my municipalities to offer this presentation about the basic generation service increase that customers are going to see. And there is a bit of news from Trenton that affects some of this that I'll touch on at the end. But this is an important distinction for customers, and why we're being so proactive out in the community is to make sure that customers understand what their options are in terms of searching for a third-party supplier, why this charge is appearing, and to differentiate the charges on their bill, because this is a separate charge. But BGS stands for Basic Generation Service. So just so everyone is aware, Jersey Central Power and Light only delivers power. We don't generate as a utility anymore. So unfortunately, we don't really have a say in terms of setting these energy prices. And this auction that happened was in February, resulted, and I'm going to go into this in greater detail, but resulted in a 19.9% increase for customers for supply charges, which is a very heavy charge, and why we're being so proactive in the community to make sure that customers understand what their options are again, and that this is not a JCP&L rate increase. This is the supplier who provides and generates the electricity. This is their charge. So I'm going to jump right in. So understanding your bill, if you look at the screen, there are two distinct charges on your bill. There is the cost for delivering the electricity to your home, so how much your home consumes, and then there is the supplier charge, which is the cost of the electricity itself. The BGS rate increase is for that supplier charge, so the cost of the electricity. So the JCP&L, we as a company, as I mentioned, we do not generate electricity anymore, so we go to auction with the other utilities every year. The BPU is there to solely ensure that the rate is consistent with market trends. They don't influence the price that is set by PJM. And just so for everybody understanding what PJM is the regional transmission operator for the Eastern Seaboard. So they have a total of, I think it's 13 states. It used to just be Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland, hence the PJM acronym. Now they are as far south as, West Virginia, Washington, D.C., all of our 5 states, as well as a few others on the Eastern Seaboard. But they are the regional transmission operators, and we collect the supply charge for them. There's no markup. We don't make any money on it. We simply kind of pass the money through to PJM. So JCP&L versus supply rates. So JCP&L rates, June 1st, 2024, we had a 3.6% settlement of a base rate case. This was the first base rate case in 4 years that we have filed. There has been no new base rate case filed from JCP&L to the BPU. Supply rates, just for context, again, this is PJM. June 1st of 2024, there was an 8.7% increase in the auction price. This year, for JCP&L, it is 19.9%. And the other utilities like PSE&G, Atlantic City Electric, Orange and Rockland are all very similar. They're all off a point or two, but we're all in this, rough range of 17, 18, 19%. So the BGS rates it's the default rate for non-shopping customers. The rate is determined by a competitive auction. It's a commodity auction, so it's obviously influenced by external market conditions. And again, as I mentioned before, legally, the state's only portion of this is to verify that the rate is consistent with market trends. So if you still get a paper bill from us, you see the breakdown. Again, I mentioned the two distinct charges in that picture before. The top is your consumption, what you're using physically at your house. The supply charge is the cost of the electricity. This is usually either on the lower end of your bill or on the back, but this is the consumption that you use in your house and a breakdown of certain timeframes throughout the month. And then beneath that is how your meter was read. So this was big during COVID, as we did we obviously had, very similar restrictions to everybody. Linemen were a bit different, where we're considered emergency services, but meter reading was still very active at this point. And we did do a lot of estimated reads over the last year or so, where if we were wrong, it was corrected. Like, we would get an actual read. Customers could call in the number that on their physical meter itself and provide that to us. But one significant update for this portion of the slide is that we are completing the smart meter installations at the end of 2025 in the state as a company. We've installed them a lot, and this is called the boot and line shops territory for JCP&L. We are very, very far along in this, so I think a lot of homes probably in the borough have it as we speak. It's not mandatory. If customers don't want a smart meter, they can opt to have the legacy meter. But there is, I think it's like an $11 or $12 charge per month to keep basically a meter reader on the payroll to read it at your house if you don't want a smart meter. But there are a lot of significant benefits for us as a utility, and especially me in external affairs. A lot of what I do is speaking about outage restoration during major weather events. Smart meters are really new technology. They utilize cell phone signals to communicate readings back to us, but they also provide a significant benefit during outages that we can ping meters to get an actual reading of if they have power, part power, no power, etc. And it can be done from our distribution control center, or our linemen actually in the trucks can do it as well. So estimated reads should be something of the past after this year. And then at the bottom is the comparisons and the average use that you have at your household. So consumption plus rates equals the impact on bills. So for this past winter, December 24 to January 25, residential consumption was at the highest it had been for more than 6 years. We've seen a lot of people that still are working from home or in a hybrid setting. So total residential consumption went up by 8.4% versus the 2023-24 average. For non-electric heat customers, it went up 5%. Electric heat customers, it went up 11%. And at the same time, customers are using more energy. The cost of the electricity has risen as well. So again, that 8.6 impact from the supply rates from 2024, the 3.6 impact from the delivery rates have increased the charges on customers' bills. And the impacts of the increased rates and the consumption on bills, non-electric heat customers saw a 21.1% increase. Electric heat customers saw a 28.5% increase. So in tandem with a very, very cold winter, we had a very cold January. It was the coldest in 11 years, 22nd coldest on record, so 5 degrees below average. Also, I think the year prior we had a very, very hot summer where we had like 3 or 4 months of 90-degree temperatures, very similar to what it's kind of been like the last 2 weeks, where it's high 80s, 90s with very high humidity that doesn't really break at night. So there's a lot of AC units that are running in this type of weather. So again, this is something that we talk about during the council meeting portion of it, but there is the timing of the installation that we had coincided with the hottest summer, or the 5th hottest summer, the whatever it was, the 4th coldest winter, etc. A lot of the extreme temperature ranges coincided with the smart meter installation, so that was a big thing we heard was, is there a correlation between the two? There is not. These are vigorously tested. All of the utilities in the state are putting these in their customers' homes, these smart meters. They're new technology, very, very useful for us from a outage restoration standpoint, as I mentioned before, where typically in the past we would rely on customers to call in. We would get an idea of what transformer they're fed off of. We would look to see if we get other calls in the vicinity and basically piece the order together to show, yeah, this is a 50 customer person outage, etc. It wasn't a guessing game, but if you didn't have people call in and people were on vacation or things like that, sometimes those outages would go unnoticed unless someone actually called it in, or the OEM or police noticed. But unfortunately, that kind of coincided with that. But this smart meter program gives us a very accurate portrayal of the impact of the storm, the pattern, the timing that it went off, as well as a number of different benefits for us. But again, it kind of coincided with a very hot summer, very cold winter, so people saw their bills rise and assumed it was the smart meter's fault. That it is not. It was just on consumption. And we did even a fun little game with our group where we had someone who had a legacy meter similar size square footage and, AC unit in their house, and another person on our team who did have a smart meter, very, very, very similar bills. So the smart meters, they go under rigorous testing. So the testing standards are developed by the American National Standards Institute. They're completed and certified after they complete their testing. New meters and old legacy meters are also tested, but this state-of-the-art technology ensures accurate readings. There's no more estimated, and again, a huge benefit for us from an outage standpoint. So again, the tools there are some of the benefits for smart meters are you can better understand your electric use. You can see the consumption. There's going to be, I think it's live now, there's a home energy analyzer tool on our website that once you have a smart meter and it's operational and they're all connected, again, closer probably towards the end of the year, people will be able to see their consumption, the timing, things like that. So it's a better profile rather than just a meter outside that spins. You'll be able to see what you're consuming and the high moments, the low moments, etc. So more accurate billing, reduction of those estimated bills, and then as I mentioned again, the meter pinging for outages. So managing your bill energy efficiency was something that was overseen by the BPU for a number of years. They released it to the utilities last year to oversee. So we contract with two companies named TRC and Willdan for residential and commercial and industrial. JCP&L's Energy Save program is energysavenj.com. Appliance rebates, recycling, home energy analyzer, HVAC rebates, whole home energy solutions, weatherization, and an online marketplace where you can shop. And my condenser in my AC unit failed last year. I just actually used this to find my new model last year to get it installed and got a very good price. So it is a good, very, very good tool. And for our municipalities or residential customers, they can, Google energy efficiency, JCP&L, and it'll be one of the first links to file an application. So, there's requests to update lighting to LED or, put a new HVAC on a municipal building or a gymnasium in town. I can connect you, but there is that information online that customers can fill out. So there's easy energy efficiency tips. Again, firstenergycorp.com/save-energy for reducing air leaks, utilizing ceiling fans, controlling radiant heat. Obviously for high heat days like today, convection oven equals good, crock pots are better. LED light bulbs, obviously better, there's less consumption there. And obviously dishwashers over hand washing dishes, but I've lived in apartments for about 10 years and I don't want to go back to washing dishes by hand, so I'll still use my dishwasher, but typically on high heat days like this, because of the consumption, I'll usually do it early morning or at night, so it's not during the peak load portion. So some of the other options for customers to combat this are the budget billing and equal payment plan. I know actually you were one of the people I referenced quite a bit for the equal payment plan. Yep. So we do have a number of customers that enroll in that. There's no guessing. You're not going to see a $100 January bill and a $600 June bill. It's an equal payment plan throughout the year. There are also assistance programs like USF, HEAP, and LIHEAP, Page, NJ Shares, Lifeline, Comfort Partners, and WAP, as well as 211 is a really, really good resource. I know a lot of customers prefer that. And then our programs are online as well, which is jcpnl.com/assistance, or you can call our 1-800 number, 1-800-662-3115. You can shop for your energy supplier. BGS provides the default service, so if you don't elect a third party, we remain your delivery company, but also we collect that supply charge for them to provide it back to them after. Again, no markup. We do not make any money on it, and this is not our rate increase. But one thing we do advocate for customers is to do your research. There's a lot of times I'll meet with municipalities or customers in the field, and they may have entered something very prematurely without reading everything, and 1 year they're 2% lower than the JCP&L rate, the following year they're 7% higher, etc. So do your research, look at the price, but also look at the plan structure, fixed versus variable rate, introductory rate terms, contract length, terms and conditions, taxes, charges, or fees. And if you want to look into some of these companies, you can do nj.gov/NJ Power Switch. That's what I have for tonight. So I'm happy to take any questions.
I have a question. So going back to the smart meters, Does JCP&L perform the installation, or is it a third-party company?
It is a third-party company, so they're all certified Journey linemen, and it's not Wildan, it's Wellington is our contractor. So they'll wear badges similar to mine, and it's a very, very quick process if there is no issues. But unfortunately, we do have in my territory, especially, a lot of homes that were built in the 60s, 70s, et cetera, where that meter pin may just moved over time and having an unsafe condition. So what we advocate for is we will make customer contact before obviously we change it out. They can elect to opt out if they don't want. There are repairs sometimes that customers need to make, but that is from a safety standpoint extremely important. And admittedly, I've worked for the company for 6 years. I have family that are customers and gotten some grief about some of the costs of the repairs they've had to make. I've seen the photos of their meters, and what I advocate to them is, I know you have young kids, I have young kids, I wouldn't leave an unsafe condition like that, while they're putting something in.
And for residents at home, if they decline the smart meter, what's the process to rethinking it if they want to?
Oh, they can always go back. So they would just call into the 1-800-662-3115 with their account, and they could opt in, and we would go back out and reinstall one.
Perfect.
Yep, but they do have that option. It's not mandatory. They can opt out. Like I said, there's just an extra, it's I think 11 or 12 bucks a month that goes into the customer's bill to basically pay for the meter reader to read their meter. But in terms of like frequency, that sort of stuff is like some of the questions we get. There's a lot of information on that American Standards website, our website, but it's a cell signal that we use. And it's basically a mesh network where one smart meter talks to the next, till the cell signal goes to our distribution control center.
Thank you.
Yep.
You said Jersey Central did an auction?
We go to the auction. So First Energy does.
Okay, so then I guess, I forgot what you said the increase was this year, 18?
19.9.
19.9, and that was the lowest of all?
I think PSE&G's is like 17.9.
No, I mean, when you go to auction.
Oh, yeah.
Who's the provider of the?
PJM owns the transmission grid. PJM. Used to stand for Pennsylvania, Jersey, Maryland. But
So now what happens when, like I know in Riverdale, we did an auction with Transparent Energy.
Yeah.
And I forgot who won the bid, but we secured it for the borough electric. It was like 10 kilowatt.
Yeah.
1 hour, something like that. What was the price? You know what the price was per kilowatt hour?
No, not at the moment. No, and it's changing a bit too. I said I was going to mention this at the end, I didn't, but the state has been doing a lot of stuff with this as well. It's very contentious right now. I'm chatting between both issues. I am apolitical in my position, but essentially what's going to happen is they're holding off the increase until September. So this was supposed to start on June 1st. That's not.
So we haven't seen the increase yet?
No, and it won't happen until September. And it's the same kind of moratorium we have with shutoffs for like cold weather are the same going to be now for summer. And this one was, news to us, but the governor mandated that the distribution companies who are not involved in the BGS provide relief to customers for this cost. So I think there is now like a $60 credit that goes into each of the customers' accounts, and then there's a separate one if you qualify for, some of the payment plans with us. There's like an extra 30, 40 bucks, but we can reclaim that over like a year. So it's a bit messy right now. But basically the highlights are we're not going to start collecting this until September, and that there's this $60 credit going to customers.
Really?
Yep.
So I know, for instance, as a borough, we did the auction.
Yeah.
I forgot who won the auction, but I signed a 2-year deal.
Yeah.
But that's just for our building. So
Right.
now, I know Morris County, they were trying to do something for the residents.
There's a few towns that have.
That they did that a while back,
Mhm.
and then, but the problem when they did it originally was, the default was, you went into the new company,
Mm.
third-party supplier,
Interesting.
if you didn't answer.
Really?
Yes, by default. So I think they might have changed it this time.
Yeah.
But individuals, getting back to doing your research, so individual homeowners are able to go out and do a,
Shop, yeah, they may be able to get a lower rate than this 19.9. But again, we asked them to just do the research.
Right.
These are companies that are not, affiliated with us. They're third-party providers. So
Right.
just do the research is the most important thing. But yeah, there is that option for customers. If they don't do anything, they stay with us, so there's no change.
right.
And it's, there's been, we don't own any generation as a utility company, like First Energy, and specifically JCP&L. I think PSE&G has maybe like one or a few plants, I don't know how many, but there's just been a lot of factors in this and why it's gone up. The governor's put a bit of pressure on PJM to explain why.
And what was their answer?
I don't know. I don't know if they've issued a statement yet on it, but yeah, it got a lot of attention. So, and generation there's a lot of rules, there's a lot of regulations. There's new technologies coming out like small nuclear reactors and things like that they're looking at. But there's no news for that in terms of the state that I've heard, but that could change. But a lot of our generation in the state got shut down or converted or.
Well, that's it. That was my next question.
Yeah.
Because if it's with the wind farms out in the ocean, all this other stuff that they've been mandating, is that causing the increase?
Yeah, so it gets political at that point. So I don't want to give a comment, but yeah, there's been a lot of generation that's come offline recently. Is how I leave it.
Yeah.
I leave it to the individual customer with their political affiliation to make
I'm
their,
not trying to make it political. I just didn't think there was an answer for that.
We did have a part in the offshore. We were going to convert it. So PS, I think, or who was it? There's a Dutch company won it, Orsted, I think. And then we were going to convert it once it hit the land. It was going to enter our substation and we would convert it to go back into the grid. But I don't have any new news on that. Also, it's not my territory, so I don't get kept in those meetings. Sure.
In the condominiums.
Okay.
And I think this is what we got. We got the choice if we wanted the smart meter,
Mm-hmm.
and if we didn't, there would be $16 added to our bill, and we all had to sign before they came into the smart meter.
Correct. Yep.
You're saying for a homeowner, there's a $60 credit for them
Yeah.
to do it?
Not smart meter. Not that is to offset this BGS increase. The governor mandated us as the utilities to cover some of the costs of PJM's increase.
Okay.
So it's just a regular 60. But there's a full press release if you go on JCP&L's website. It should be one of the first ones up there. So we just put it out I think last week, but it'll have the specifics as well.
Is that the thing where they're giving you the credit in the summer months, but then you owe it back in the?
We take it back like in the next 12 months or over a period of time, yes.
Well, it's really not a credit.
No. No, and this is all still,
Yes.
okay. Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know if you touched on that.
No problem. Yeah, so it's a bit unique because it's not, we kind of have to adapt to it. Like the governor gave us this instruction and we said, okay, we're gonna do it. But it's been a bit unique, that one. That was not part of our plan, because again, it's not our charge, and that's what we're trying to convey that.
So like I do the equal payment plan,
Oh, yeah, okay.
but like I tried calling customer service. My bill went, like I'm in a townhouse. It went from $62 a month to $247.
For on the equal, or before you went on the,
No, like that was the changeover. It went from 62 to 247, 247. Then it went to 365 for 1 month, and now it's back to 131 every month. And I've called several times, I just keep getting the runaround, so then I tried to schedule an appointment to have them test my meter,
yeah.
which is a smart meter, but no one, I'm looking at my bill, like,
Yeah, that's a bit odd.
it's
That's
more than my
why,
parents' whole house.
yeah. Well, I mean, where I live in Chester, I don't have a big house, but I have kids who are home a lot. We run the air. We were $70 last month, and I was sitting there and I was like, that is really low. I mean, obviously everything's a month behind, so like it wasn't as high in April and May, but that's a big jump. I would, if I could give a recommendation, call at 8 a.m. if you have time. We're closed for like 4th of July, things like that, but call at 8 a.m. and you'll get someone, and just ask to speak to a supervisor and just be like, I've tried calling you guys a couple times. Here's my issue. Can someone just from billing break down why it jumped that high? Because that doesn't seem.
That's what everybody.
Yeah. I mean, but they don't, the thing with the digital, I mean, the smart meters is there's no, like, it's all consumption based off of the service that comes into your house. So it's not like that would receive a spike for some reason, like unless you were running everything in your house for like a month. Right.
But if he has an equal payment plan, they adjust that once a year, I think. Usually it's like in August.
You probably know better about it, because you've been.
So it shouldn't fluctuate from month to month like that.
So it was,
say you're paying a certain amount.
so it was 62 for the year, and then I guess to catch, maybe they billed me less than they thought.
Yeah.
That's what happened. That's still what happened.
Now the new year is, so I still think 62 to 131, that's still something.
Sometimes, yeah, I've been doing this for a
No,
long time.
yeah.
What happens, let's just say we're paying $100 a month. And then at the end of the year, typically, I think it's around August, when they do it, that's when they did mine. They'll say, okay, so $100 a month for the last 12 months is $1,200, but you actually used $1,800 worth of it. So I think they'll either, you can pay the difference and kind of keep your $100, and then they'll readjust your 100. Or they'll just add that to your next year's payment and say, okay, you should have been paying $150, so now it's $150, but you still owe us $600 from the last 12 months. And they'll add that, another $50, so they kind of do that.
The 130 sounds more accurate than a 60. So I'm guessing, like, just again, this is me giving my best guess, but I would assume they underbilled you for probably the whole year, and then they adjusted the first few, and 130 is probably where you stay.
Typically, if you look at your bill every month, it'll tell you what you actually use.
Right.
And what you actually
Most of the pay is the service, like what you're paying.
Yeah, there's the cost for the electric and then how much you use.
Also, in a few more months, that home energy analyzer tool will be open. I think there's like the first version of it now that's out, but you'll be able to actually go in and see consumption and times and things like that. But that's my recommendation. Call it 8, ask for a supervisor from billing, just to explain the variation of the charges, and they should be able to do that. If for some reason you can't, go to Mike, if that's okay.
Come to the town hall and we could connect you with Bob.
Yeah, he'll send me an email on your behalf, and then I'll go to someone in billing that can explain it, if you can't get through.
All right, I appreciate it.
Yep. Other questions? And I know I'm talking about BGS tonight, but if you have other questions about the electric industry, let me know. I can answer, I'm happy to. Good?
Okay, sorry to interrupt.